Did DeRozan hit another game winner recently?
No, they played Monday, and then they have the week off till Friday, which is nice. They needed it. They played too many games in a row. But yeah, it's cool. Did you see the All-Star voting?
No, who gives a shit about that? Let's talk about the Blackhawks game, O'Neal.
No, man, that was rough. That was rough, especially at the end. Like
I thought it was tremendous.
Kirby Dunn, man.
Why? So what's happening here? Why isn't Joseph saying anything? Why? What's going on?
Yeah. So I'm talking for Joseph today.
Oh, what happened? What's wrong with Joseph?
He can't talk.
Well, why can't he talk? Like, I don't understand why not.
He got COVID, so can't talk.
Yep. No. I didn't even know he was like going to be on the show today. Like I had actually booked. Okay. I didn't realize he could be on the show.
You didn't know?
Oh my God. Well, I called SP3, so I my ass did call somebody. Whatever. All right. I guess. Are you still doing the corner three, O'Neal? You still doing that?
Wait. The Bob O'Neal corner three?
Yeah.
Fuck Bob O'Neal.
And I said, psychosis.
This one's for all pals and O'Neal. Such a feud from the jaws of victory with the point guard and the chubby cheese. Distraction. Hey, podcast. Pure filth. Wins and losses don't mean shit. So watch Joseph grin and Cheza do his bit. Distraction. Hey, roll up. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome everyone to The Distraction. I'm Jeremy Lambert. Joseph is here. Joseph is talking, I think. Are you talking?
Maybe I should just say fuck Bob O'Neal over and over again,
That's just the only thing you say all show. That's fine.
I mean, it'd be an upgrade than the usual, so I'm with it. But yeah, I'm excited. I wasn't supposed to be on this show, but there's a lot to talk about, man. I can't miss this wrestling podcast thing. It's my addiction now, I am broken, good. Folks. I know it's bad. Here we are.
SP3 is here as well. How you doing, SP3? What a shill with a Young Bucks shirt.
I did this to troll my colleague over on True Hill Heat, who hates Matt Jackson, but I couldn't change, so I had to be here. Glad to be back on the flagship Distraction show. So being here, and Joe had to go get over the Jordan flu to come play with SP3.
You bring this up. This is a quick detour, but this is the Distraction. I always forget how much people hate the Young Bucks. So, cheap plug, I'm currently doing the Fleet 50, okay, the top 50 in-ring performers in AEW. You can send your ballots now. You can email them to me. And, folks, let me tell you, there are people that have not got Matt or Nick Jackson on their top 50 in-ring performers of AEW's 2021. It's crazy, man. It's a real thing. So, I'm proud of SP3. Showing love to one of the great tag teams right there.
Absolutely. Can you call some people out and say who they have ranked over them? Because I would like to know these things.
Then reasonably they could ask me for mine, and I am not letting that go. That would be over my dead body, brother. That ain't happening. So anyway, let's move on. That's one.
Send it to me. Send it to me. I'll do it. Because you know what we do? You know what we do on this show, Joseph?
And you know what I'm gonna do with this social media? I'm gonna bury people. I'm gonna bury everybody.
Bury all these fucking people, Joseph.
Incredible. An incredible wrestler. Should we start there?
Let's start there after I read some super chats.
Okay.
Guys, get your super chats in. Get your question, comment, statement right on air. Get your Bobber chat in. We still need to register bobberchat.com, but you can go to humperchats.com, and that's registered. You can leave your comment, your statement over there. Our buddy Frank says, that's just Joe's Mick Foley walking back to Hell in a Cell holding his dislocated arm moment. All hail. JJ says, one of my favorite big stars. Welcome, SV3. Always great to see you, man. Did anyone call the police for the Pillman match? Phil, love you both. Did you call the police for that match?
I'm doing this now, and I swear we have a lot of fun, but if you watch this show, you'll know I never do this. And he seems like he can be kind of dumb, but he doesn't seem like an evil person. So I ain't trying to be horrible or anything. But when you got that roster, sending that dude out there with TV is just He's terrible. Seriously, nothing personal. I never do this. It's got to end. Okay. I mean, the man, he fell down twice. The second time, I mean, it's just really, that match went 6 minutes. It died a death live too. Because the thing is, I think for you guys, it went to commercial really early.
Yeah.
From what I remember, right? Didn't have that privilege over here, folks. I didn't get to see the Burger King commercials going by to distract me. And Dukes in the chat was at the show, and he probably can vouch for this, maybe not. It was dead silent as they worked this thing. And I mean, I don't know. I just think when you got the roster that good, there's no room for that kind of showing on TV to me. But we'll get into that stuff later.
Remember when they put him on Arthur Ashe?
Yeah, two big shows, man.
Against Jericho. Against MJF. Oh man.
Yeah. And there wasn't even really an angle here. It wasn't like he was just sacrificed to set up. I mean, we know what's coming, but again, that's another problem to get into. It's like, I don't know, man. It was like, it kind of was trying to make Pillman like seem courageous. I don't fucking know what it was. It was bad. It was real bad.
That's where we all thought it was going, right? Is like, all right, he beats Pillman, and maybe Griff comes in, and that sets up who we think is coming and everything. Malachi just kicked this man, and he just like fucking left. He was just gone. Our Bam says Joseph 7 MJ flu game today, the best. Facts, straight facts. Frank says SP3's biracial baby rant was an all-timer. SP3 is the fucking best. That's why when Joseph said couldn't do this show today, I messaged you. I was like, "Can you do it? Like, gotta have you on."
Immediate upgrade, obviously. Can we talk about you doing that whole bit, and then like 2 days later on Dynamite, Brandy Rhodes cutting one of the most like absurd promos in the history of television?
It was like they saw me talking.
Yes, they did.
And they was like, you know what? We're gonna go full throttle. That's why. That's why. On the. I'm now calling Tony Khan whenever Brandy Rose is on camera. He is now Antoine Khan, because if he is either directing or scripting this promo in any type of way, he needs to be Antoine Khan.
Fair, I agree.
Rob says I owe him a super chat from yesterday. That is true. I apologize, Rob. I know you sent one about Kel McCarr yesterday. And Andrew doesn't know anything about hockey, so I wasn't trying to force that on him. But Kel McCarr, the fucking goat. He says, all I want to say is SP3, can you confirm or deny that meeting me in Minneapolis was better than Page versus Omega?
Confirmed. I have never had a meal with a friend that was that televised as that meal in Minneapolis. Right?
Oh boy. Jay Blood says Joe's point taken, but another problem with AEW is they never followed on Pillman's moment in his hometown. Was barely on TV since Grand Slam. We're gonna kind of get into
it's a good. I'll be honest, I don't think Pillman, I'm not losing too much sleep about him in particular, but the point is very, very worth discussing, and we will get into it here on the world famous Distraction podcast.
Let's start with Danielson and Hangman. They had their big rematch after they went to a draw at Winter is Coming. This one did not go to a draw. It went about 30 minutes. Bloody affair. Hangman Page wins with the buckshot lariat. Look, it's very dumb to say this was my favorite match of the year. We're six days into the year. There's some good stuff at Wrestle.
There is. There's some good stuff.
Yeah, but like, fuck, this match was better than their first one, I thought. And I really liked their first one. Having a conclusion is good, but they worked it. Like, after going 60 minutes, they worked it with like the intensity that you would hope they would work it with after like a 60-minute draw. Like, there's no feeling out like there was in that first one. They went after it from the start. Both men, bloody messes in this thing. Big moment for Hangman getting the victory clean over Danielson as well. I absolutely love this match. SP3, your thoughts?
This is now the match of the year. This made Okada and Ospreay the shortest reign ever being match of the year. Like, it literally was match of the year for 12 hours, and then it got taken from them with the opener on AEW Dynamite. Just like the way they came into the match from the opening bell just made sense due to the time limit draw in the last match. Hangman came out with just more intensity, a sense of urgency, but Bryan Danielson kept the same energy. He was like, I can win this in 60 15 minutes. I can win this in 6 minutes. He's still confident, still trying to stall, getting Hangman's head, going after the lariat arm once again. He splits him in the head at the same spot that he did at Winter is Coming. You had the callbacks, you had drama, just great heel work from Bryan Danielson. One of the best parts was during the picture-in-picture for me. I had to watch it because Bryan Danielson was shoving Hangman's bloody face into the judges' faces like a kid trying to get dad's attention. Like, pay attention to me. I'm winning, Dad. And then Hangman just had that moment, that one moment where someone just becomes a star. Like you saw it with Austin bleeding in the sharpshooter at WrestleMania 13. That was when he arrived to that next stage. I feel Hangman Page's moment is him bleeding, dripping blood, and then doing jumping jacks. My God, I was like, he's arrived. He's arrived. This man has arrived. He's a main event player. And then the finale, everything, like, this was so much better than their first match. It's one of the best singles matches in AEW history.
Joseph?
Yeah, that about nailed it. I mean, we always ask for this, right? When you get the big, long, epic first match, we'll always have these conversations about what the sequel should be. And I mean, they did it like to perfection. It's like when you get a great prize fight and they'll run it back and it's like, well, look, they know each other now, right? But they didn't do it as a gimmick. They didn't come out the gate with a big finish and then, slow down. Instead, they started in a way that was logical. A lot of Bryan's tactics, extended to this match. But when Hangman brought him in to just sort of trading bombs in there, Bryan had no choice but to go with it. And then, it's a shootout, basically. It was incredible. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go, tell you what my instincts was when I saw Bryan's blood, but, good Lord, man, how desperate has that dude been to bleed? I mean, the side of his face was I've seen some blood in professional wrestling in my time. That was quite the deal he did there, huh? Good. It was incredible. It was a fabulous match. Honestly, if there's a better match this year, I think it would have been, something pretty special. I really believe that. This at times felt like I was watching a grainy VHS of the considered greatest match ever from 30, 40 years ago for the NWA title. The only thing, and this is directly aimed at Jukes in the chat, who I'm blaming you directly for this, I wish the place was a little louder for the first bell and the opening heat. They had to earn it more than I would have liked. I wanted them to be rabid from the start. But I get it, losers and stuff. No, seriously,
that was New Jersey, not New York. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Am I right on that? It felt like they just it almost was like they wasn't ready for it because it was the first one up. But
yeah,
the violence, the headbutts, the physicality, the psychology, the desperation, the blood. It was just beautiful is not the right word for this particular match because it was graphic, and there's some people would watch it and be like, enough headbutts. But to me, it was damn beautiful. It was a masterpiece. And Bryan Danielson, and I say this again, every time I do this, I have to say the asterisk. I'm not slighting Hangman Page, who's fabulous, wonderful wrestler. But this run of Bryan Danielson's is going to be something that we all kind of, one day when we're all retired and, we've done our gig for the WWF Network on Peacock, presenting the best of AEW every week, we will say we were lucky to be there for that, watching in real time, because it is, I think it's the greatest wrestler ever in his fullest form, so it's very, very special. I love the match. What an incredible match.
I mean, you mentioned that if we see a better match this year, that's going to be tough. I'm just thinking Danielson's going to take a week or two off, and he's probably going to go out there and just try to top it very quickly. When AEW's in on the beaches of Cleveland, he'll have this great match with Johnny Gargano. Gargano will come in, and Danielson and Gargano will just top it immediately. Jay Blood says Hangman jumping jacks. The men's instincts are Gid level. I assume that means Josh Giddey level, which factual, the GOAT Josh Giddey. But yeah, dude, when he was doing those jumping jacks as a callback to Danielson doing it last match, I lost it. Hangman, we said it last time of we know Hangman is good. The Omega match proved Hangman was good. If you had any doubts, the Danielson match kicked it up to another level. This was again that just kicked up to another level of if you have any doubts about Hangman carrying this from an in-ring perspective,
Right, yeah.
just shut up at this point, because
Right.
this man's gone toe to toe. There's no carry job with two of the best of all time, and in my opinion, the all-time GOAT.
He's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and
Yeah.
you know, I think anyone saying otherwise is being way unfair to him. I think, you know, we all do kind of a bit with Brian Cage, but like, lest we forget, he had an awesome match with Brian Cage at Double or Nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that was a carry job, because Cage is good at those matches, so God bless him. But, you know, my point is, point me really in the last 2 years since he kind of got rolling with this character, point me to where he has let you down in a big spot. You know, the guy's a special wrestler. The only reason we all focus on Bryan Danielson is, I mean, SP3 is probably the best example of this. Like, you were there back in yesteryear in New York City when he was the best wrestler in the world as Ring of Honor champ. Like, it's hard for us not to just sit here and just talk about how, you know, how great he is. He's special, man. He is what he is.
Yeah, it's like unreal for me. Like my first independent show, I saw him lose the Ring of Honor World Championship. I was there when he returned to Ring of Honor after losing the world title, and they treated him like a god, and got to see the end of that run, his final match in Ring of Honor, got to see him go to WrestleMania. And then this, like, he's had 3 separate all-time careers in 3 separate companies. Like, this is unreal. Like, I totally agree with Jeremy. He's the greatest. He's my favorite wrestler of all time, but he is making the argument very, very well known that he is in the conversation for the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. When the only other guy that I could say probably competes with him as far as in-ring classics is making a fool of himself on the Twitter machine by attacking Becky Lynch. It's Bryan Danielson, man. Bryan Danielson is the GOAT, and we are being able to watch it. We should just appreciate it much, much more.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And this year is going to be really interesting because he's going to be away from the belt for a bit, right? Yeah. And, you know, are we going to see heel Bryan in big programs, bleeding everywhere in blood feuds, or are we going to see babyface Bryan working those exhibition matches like the Suzuki match as an example? You know, if you use that as like those kind of Clash of the Titans matches, I'm easy either way. I think obviously there's a lot of stories for him to tell regardless, but I guess with Danielson, you just kind of let him pick, right? What do you want to do, man? who do you want me to get through the door here for you? I mean, it's honestly, you know, we're all sports fans, right? It's like, it's different because wrestling is really dumb and weird, but it's like the idea of signing someone of this caliber and them still exceeding expectations in like grand fashion is bonkers. Like, we all agree he's the greatest ever before they signed here, but I don't think any of us expected him to be this outrageous in AEW. He's had like 15 great matches. The man's out of control. I mean, everyone agrees that he is in like the top 5 best wrestlers of AEW's 2021. Folks, he made his in-ring debut on like the 20-something of September. This dude's different, man. I'm telling you, he ain't just the greatest ever. He's in his own league. He's building his own suite up there. Anyway, we should probably move on before this comes an hour of this. My bad.
Jay Shell says, I don't want cool judges if they use them. Yeah, the judges were Len, Henry, and Big Show. I think we all kind of worked up of who they're gonna pick, and they're just like, who's producing in the back? Let's get them.
Bro, they're on separate chairs at least, man. Like, you can't sit the judges all together on each other's laps like that. Like they're in.
You had Jerry like this. Like,
poor Jerry had to sit between them two, man. Come on.
Maybe it was a COVID thing and they didn't want to like mess around with the building, but like it looks so silly them all sitting in the same corner like this awkwardly. Come on, man. Get them a nice table or something, you know?
Jay Blood says we were wondering a couple months ago where this matchup would have enough juice. Now it's a legit rivalry that will be remembered and returned to. Yeah, they'll definitely go back to it at some point. And Jay Shell says Cage is good at matches. He's got his style.
He's that particular type of match. Like the big moves fest, he's good at. He's not someone you want to watch for 20 minutes, but like a 10 to 15 minute, you know, do every move you could possibly think of. He's good at them. I mean, I don't have to talk about it anymore because it seems like he's not going to be talked about much on these shows, but, you know.
I'm looking forward to his Warrior Wrestling match with Will Ospreay. I think that's the right guy to be in there for a Cage title match.
Yeah, he keeps ducking Buddy Matthews, though, because he's a coward.
Avy says, for my money, Hangman, one of the best in the world, both in ring, perfect with his character development, best babyface in the world currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all spot on.
Yeah. And Mad King says AEW is making Hangman the American Tanahashi. US has not had work rate babyface that worked at high level in a long time. I mean, that's because the company that does babyfaces hasn't done a good babyface since Bryan Danielson in 2013.
By accident.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. Now, I'm intrigued. Let's follow up on that a little bit here. So, if that was your mindset, we want to have him as like a real working ace. Who are you matchmaking with him next? Because we all agree Hangman's great, but you have to like give him certain guys that he can have those classics with, right?
Yeah.
Who jumps off the page? SB3, any names come to mind for who could get the next shot?
I'm thinking Revolution is gonna be Adam Cole.
I am too, yeah.
He's number 2 in the ranking. This whole storyline with him being in the middle of Red Dragon and Young Bucks has done nothing more but make him look more like a star, and that was kind of. It was kind of going off a little bit for a few weeks after Full Gear, but now it's back. He's a star again, and it can leave the Red Dragon and Young Bucks to go against each other at Revolution. Yeah. So you have 2 matches that play into it, and plus Hangman fits very well into that storyline there. So
true, that's an interesting one in ring. Right, like I think we all agree the match should be very good. I would be intrigued what kind of match, because I don't see them having like this kind of match. Does that make sense? Like it wouldn't. Yeah. It would be like slotting Hangman into a takeover main event. And what I mean by that is it will get good reviews, but I don't know if it would feel the same. It will be intriguing to watch how his reign develops. Andrade came up in the chat. That match sounds awesome, but obviously there's some work to do with Andrade. Like stylistically, I see that. That's a perfect call. And Moxley's looming, obviously, also. So I don't know, Jeremy. Any other names come to mind?
Yeah, I've long since thought that Adam Cole was the Revolution match. As far as other names, they can heat up anybody in a quick heartbeat. I think there is a story with Starks. I don't think they're going to tell the story that early, but that was the neck injury.
Yeah,
it was the Hangman match. So I think there's a story there. Again, I don't think they're going to that just now. I think you got to do more work with Ricky and just getting him on television and featuring him more. Mad King mentions Miro. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
I could be there. I know he's dealing with the hamstring injury, but if he can get back and ready to go, that's an easy one. I think I've long said that Cole is the match, so I'll stick with that. They got some names that they could possibly put in there, but I think Cole's probably the kind of the biggest one right now.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Now, Jeremy, would you like to do the super chats first before I make this hard left turn?
Ibby, got a couple here. Ibby says Malachi Black trying to corrupt the babyface of all babyfaces money and the striking exchanges. Good God, they got to do. I'm not in on this Malachi Black stuff. I'm sorry.
I agree with the comment.
Yeah,
but it's the execution of it should be better, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I like the idea. I think it needs to be done in a more kind of engaging way right now. Because right now, I just feel like I'm waiting for the actual thing to happen, which is Brody King, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe that's a me thing, but in my defense, they literally had him like tease Brody in like 4 different ways in one vignette and was like, "You're more than a king, violence," So for me personally, I find they have this problem. I'm sorry, that was a wonderful super chat. I'm sorry to take this off the rails, but I'm doing it now, okay? They have this thing they do with angles where you're like, you spend weeks like waiting for the obvious. So like Kyle O'Reilly was kind of one, it was lesser. Brody is now, to me, the Kingston Jericho thing is, because like we all know they're going to fight. Like just get, I can't see them save each other. So you do this thing, you wait, and then when it happens, I find sometimes they do a bad job of following up. So what happens is it kind of then all fades into the back, right? So like, my concern for Malachi is, and this isn't his fault, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot. I don't know if the story he wants to tell is best suited to the way they book their wrestling. Because a lot of their stories are told in the ring, and they do a lot of pre-tapes, and it'll be next week. Here's a pre-tape set up next week's match. And
I think he's coming after you for criticizing AEW. Okay,
and I think he wants I don't know what he wants. That's right. I shouldn't say that. I think he needs a more overarching story that feels like it's kind of living over the whole promotion rather than like just the lights have gone out. You know, like it doesn't feel connected in the way I want. Does that
To
make sense?
him, that I don't think either of these things are his fault, but he does this stuff. And then last week, when you could see him just turn around and walk through the tunnel after the lights go out, last night where he's just sitting in the rafters and stuff, like I don't think any of this does him any favors with what he wants to do. And I'm with you on the way he wants to do stuff just isn't conducive. Like you don't need to be wrestling Brian Pillman Jr. to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you just don't. You don't have to do that. A lot of stuff doesn't feel connected, and this has been an issue I've had with AEW. Is next week we're getting Hobbs and Dante Martin, which is great. There's been no real follow up to the Leo stuff on that. I guess they showed something on YouTube. Great. Not everybody watches that stuff. You invested TV time on this angle. Give me that on TV, not on YouTube. There's so much stuff that they just go away from for a week, and then it's like, oh well, we're gonna book a match now, and now they're having an issue where we're seeing Serena and Shida again, which is great. It's gonna be a great match. But don't tell me you don't do rematches. And I feel like I've seen this match a million times. I feel like I've seen Kingston and Santana Ortiz against 2.0 and Garcia a million times this point. And it's the same stuff of just, all right, let's make a save. And I guess Eddie and Jericho are fighting so much save stuff. They're going back to Ruby and Britt again after we've seen that. It's just they used to be very good at like cycling people.
It used to be better.
Yeah.
Like they used to be good at like cycling stuff, and now like because of the talent that have come in, like now the cycle isn't as good. Like they're keeping some people like off television for too long, so they can kind of keep the newer people on television so much, and it seems like a lot of times. And then it's just all right. Well, we're just doing a match for the sake of a match for some of this stuff. SP3, your thoughts?
No, it's very true. Like there's a lot of different feuds over the last couple of months that just they try to stretch it out too long. Like everyone always brings up Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy, and with what both of those guys were doing afterwards, it made no sense why Matt Hardy won the last match between them, and that feud was just ridiculous. Even though they had a great final match, the whole Tay and Jay versus Penelope and Bunny went on for months. Ricky Starks and Brian Cage went on for months. Like it just seems this year, if you're not like in like a main title picture or an important feud, if you're just in one of those mid-card feuds, they've tried to stretch it a little too long, and we get too many rematches. And I feel I get that feeling too with Shida and Serena, where after the second match, everybody wanted the third match, and then the third match, they just didn't give them enough time. That was on the same show as the hour-long match between Hangman and Bryan, and plus the finish was a little bit wonky. And then they went away from it for like a couple of weeks, and then when they come back, it's not as hot because we feel like the feud has already been over because we saw 3 matches, and now we're going on a 4th. That's overkill. And I kind of understand where you guys are coming from there. That is an issue right now in AEW.
So I think it's important to say that some of this stuff has been a problem, right? And it's but the show is good enough that you kind of go, well, whatever. So a good example would be the kind of moving too quick. The famous example is poor Christopher Daniels getting beat, standing there hugging his partner covered in blood, and they said, to the back! And like someone in the chat said, I was ultra, I've missed it, but they said it was insane. They didn't even show a clip of the incredible street fight from last week's Rampage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some would say, well, why would you show it? And it's like, well, because you don't want stuff. But and have no... Sorry, my bad. You don't want stuff to have no weight to it. You want it to be remembered, and when people do the stuff those women did in that match, you want it to be, you could do a video package, like it wouldn't kill you. I will say though, I did like, they did a couple dark recaps last night. Big thumbs up on that, because that's something they need to do for a long time. Now, here's the stuff, and you guys both said it perfectly, but just to add to it, here's the stuff that I think is a more recent problem. Firstly, the rematch and the extending the feuds is definitely a real thing. Like when Britt walked into the scene last night with Ruby, it was just like, oh, I mean, just book the tag match you want to book. You don't have to give everything an angle, you know. Like if you want to do the tag match, you don't have to do this stupid, you know, over the top, overcomplicated way of getting there. It's so lazy that we all know what's coming. You're going to do a match on Rampage. Just book the match at that point, you know. Like it's silly, but and this is a big thing that is maybe me, but this is where I'm at. First match was fabulous. We loved it. As soon as the first match is done, there is no possible way that show can be considered bad when it has a match of that caliber. So before I go any further, I want to say, objectively, AEW Dynamite last night was a good wrestling show. It was a good wrestling show about half an hour just based on the fact they had one of the great matches of the year on it. Fine. I like the Punk and MJF thing. It isn't really my flavor, but I think it's effective and I appreciate it. I personally believe that everything after that was a good example of stuff that we've all kind of pointed on. And like, there is some issues here and there are some cracks creatively that I think the increased talent pool are covering over. Bryan Danielson will ensure that your show's only so bad. Okay. CM Punk cutting promos will keep things pretty damn afloat. Hangman, all these great wrestlers. However, there are moments where I watch them do angles and I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are the Lucha Bros coming out and then you're having the lights go out and Malachi is just going to like transport past them? And then you're going to do lights later. And you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And then at the end, it's a title change and we're going to have the heels come out. It's like, you got to focus in. If your target is to put the belts on the Jurassic Express, just do that tonight. Just do that, okay? Because it's a big moment. Now, unfortunately, and this is no one's fault, and this is worth saying, I know you guys co-sign this. Big love to Ray Phoenix.
Yeah.
That obviously killed the poor moment for Jungle Boy because we were all just, I mean, that was horrifying. So that's no one's fault, right? That's just a shame.
It was, and people were saying that maybe they sent the tag teams out there because they had to kill time on this. I don't know if that's true. Like, why is Chris Jericho up in the rafters and Malachi up in the rafters for that? Yeah. If you need to kill time, just focus on the celebration of Jungle Boy and stuff. Show more replays from the match if you need to. Like, show him hugging his family and everything. Go out there, tell them to do that. You don't need to bring the tag teams out there and they're all like, all the heel tag teams like, oh, okay, we have new champions and everything. The weird cut to the rafters is, I didn't understand any of that. And if you need to kill time because of the Phoenix injury, do something a little bit different than what they did. Focus on what matters, and that is the Jurassic Express winning the titles.
Yes, and someone mentioned the chat and they are right, so I will point it out. The reason the Lucha Bros came out is because they're friends with Pac, who got his eye gouged out a month ago, or whatever. That is true. That is also nowhere near at the front of this program enough for that to be a thing that we immediately said. I thought about it and realized it, but you just saw SP3's reaction. You've got to have some connective tissue. Show me a video package of that. There's a middle ground between Raw doing 101 recaps and doing none at all. Now, the reason I know Corey's right, and you are correct, my friend, is because they showed one before this match because they wanted you to remember that Pat got his eyeball gouged out. Some in the middle would have helped. That's all. Sorry, SP3, you go on this. I'm all over the place.
No, my guy Jimmy on AE Ramble, he says it every week. He loved that whole angle with Pat getting his eyes gouged out, and then it got dropped for weeks. For weeks on end, it was like Malachi Black just moved on to Spit in the Mist, into Julia Hart's face, the whole issue with the Varsity Blondes, whatever he's doing with the House of Black. It's like he had 100 other things to distract him that made us forget that what he did with Pac. So you can't just do the one video package right before you're about to remind us of the angle again. You have to do something like commentary. It doesn't take much for the commentary to be like, oh yeah, man, Malachi Black made a difference. Like, we haven't seen Pac since what he did to him. Like, if they just would have mentioned it in his matches over the last couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, I don't know about the matches the last couple. I think they did mention it like when the Lucha Bros came out and stuff.
Yeah, they did.
My thing is, okay, why do they care now? And then why do they care to come out at this point when Malachi was like already leaving and I guess he did go back in the ring, but why they come out at this point and then they come out just to go to the back for their match? Like, at least stay in the ring. It's like, oh, okay, they came out because they have a match. It makes sense that they would try to come out now, but then to come out and then go to the back, it's like, huh? What?
It's very jarring.
Here's a perfect example, okay? I watched this show with my brother, who is what we call in the industry a casual fan, folks. And what I mean by that is he doesn't do a podcast like the rest of us idiots. So I wanted to test him on this, right? And I go, so why did the Lucha Bros, why did they come out there? And he goes, I guess they're going to do a match on Rampage. I was like, yeah, but what's the story reason? He's like, I don't know, man. I guess they just want to do a match on Friday or something. I was like, fair. Owned. I've been owned there. And, because that's the truth of it is, and this is not a new thing, and it isn't a big thing. If you're watching this and you're saying, well, I still enjoy it as much as ever, all how. This is not me saying you're wrong or anything. Mm-hmm. But there is this thing where the way Tony Khan does angles is he just sees them as like the necessary evil to get to his match. So he's like, well, I want to do this match with Shida and Serena. What if Serena does an interview and then Shida comes in and punches her in the face? We could probably do that in about 30 seconds, and then I can book the match I want to book, and that's fine. But at some point, when you do it so often, and everyone is getting the shit kicked out of them backstage, and there's all these, it's a little bit dizzying sometimes. And when it's executed badly, as I think in some cases it was last night, unfortunately.
That Jericho segment sucked.
Well, that's a different problem. Because now we need to focus on something else. There are two guys that have been a topic for the last year. It's Code Man and it's Chris Jericho, right? And they have always, they've marched the beat of their own drum. God bless Chris Jericho. What's happened?
You say in March with those two on this day.
I didn't even mean that. Right?
I know you didn't.
Cody Rhodes, the leader of the Million Man March, of course.
Now, look, here's what I'm saying. Chris Jericho has done a lot of great things, and the greatest of all of them was he was always ahead of the curve. So here's what I'm going to say, and Chris, if you're watching, I hope you're listening. If this is all him being self-aware and setting up his heel turn when he works Eddie Kingston, no problem. I'm fine with it, okay? However, if he intends to pull off some kind of babyface program with Eddie the way that Punk did, and he's going to do this shit in his promos, I may not watch this program. if at some point in the next month he stands up to Eddie Kingston and is like, hey, this guy's fat, big head, I'll be like, done, I'm out.
Make fun of his New York accent.
Bro, that segment was bad, man. And it's like, the thing about Jericho, he was always great at adjusting, but now he just feels like he's doing like tribute act shit. It's SP3, where are you out on Jericho at this point? I don't know.
I'm convinced that the worst thing in AEW is the Jericho verse. It's not the Cody verse. It's not the Cody verse anymore. The Cody verse is fully acknowledging the type of reaction that Cody is getting, while Jericho is the real oblivious one. He thinks because people sing Judas, he's still as over and still one of the more popular baby faces out there, but his whole stick is really getting stale. It's already stale, but to even the people that were fans of Jericho, it's getting stale, and he doesn't have the best people to play off of. Anytime you extend a 2.0 feud past a month, it usually you're stretching stuff thin here. Like, I understand you're trying to get this one big tag team match, maybe Kingston and Jericho versus 2.0 or versus them and Daniel Garcia before you get to Jericho and Kingston. All you were doing is making people less interested in Jericho and Kingston. That was the thing we were interested in. That's the thing. If we have to get through all of this to get to Jericho and Kingston, and eventually Kingston wins, that's the asterisk too. Because the Jericho and Kingston feud is okay. I'm okay with it, but Kingston has to win at the end. It can't be Jericho. It can't be another big loss for Kingston. Jericho's not the guy after we just did this with Punk. So I think that's the main thing. It's just making us less interested in the match we really want.
That is such a great point you just made. And this is something that I don't think is actually exclusive to Tony Khan. I see this in wrestling a lot. And he's still a young booker, right, in the grand scheme of things. So he's a really good example to use. when you have top guys and you want them to work with guys that are underneath guys, you either have them win decisively and not extend it and not, do too much of an angle. They just win, move on. Or you pick underneath guys that you believe can be brought up. I think 2.0 are a fun team. They're a really nice heel team. And what I'm about to say is going to sound like an insult, but it just is what it is. They don't need to be in these kind of angles. They just do not. And to me personally, and I've said this on the Late Night Grin at latenightgrin.com, sign up now. I think putting Eddie in this whole thing after how hot he was against Punk has been a mistake. And folks, they are going to chant Eddie no matter what happens. They love the man. He's great. I don't need to be convinced on that. However, what SB3 said is the truth. If you spend too much time squabbling with guys that feel like they're underneath guys, inevitably, if they can't come up, the other guys come down. And I think, look, Jericho, he's an icon, he's beloved, so he can get away with it. In Kingston, goes without saying, he can get away with it. But you do not want to do it often. And another example was on this show. You have to be careful with Malachi. He does not need to be wrestling 6 minutes with Brian Pillman Jr. He's a top guy. You either have him kill those underneath guys in 30 seconds, or you put him in a big-time program with an Eddie Kingston, with a Chris Jericho. That is something that wrestling has got to do better, I think, this year, in the sense that, there's something to be said for including everyone, but you have to know people's limitations. And again, let me stress, because they seem like the most wonderful guys. 2.0, I love them. They're great. But everyone has their role, and I don't think theirs is an in-ring promo segment, that goes on for 8 minutes. And granted, they were just standing there for most of it. But I think it's a real thing to work on. You don't have to share the ball that much, so to speak.
Yeah. When it comes to Jericho and Eddie, it feels like, and this is another issue I've had with the Jericho first, as SB3 called it, is that the inner circle stuff just doesn't feel connected at all. And if you're going to do Jericho and Eddie and you're going to put Santana and Ortiz in there needs to be some, maybe you're going, okay, this is where, because you mentioned a possible Jericho heel turn, Joseph. And if you're going to do that, inner circle's got to play in somewhere, right? And it doesn't feel like Santana and Ortiz just feel very thrown in there because they have ties with Eddie. They're part of inner circle. Why isn't there question of late saves and things like that? It doesn't feel like they're going anywhere with this. And maybe they will. Maybe they will get to, okay, guys got to pick sides on this. But if that's the case, they ain't doing enough of that right now, and instead they're doing the 2.0 Garcia stuff for 2 months now, and it's can we just move past that and get to the actual part where it is going to be Eddie and Jericho, and you will make Santana and Ortiz potentially pick sides. Sammy can get involved once he gets done with Cody, I guess, because Sammy's in both universes, bless him. And I don't know what Jake Hager's doing, but yeah, get to kind of the Jericho and Eddie stuff. And I understand Eddie had or Jericho took time for his tour and everything. But if you knew that was coming, then maybe don't start this immediately right then and figure something else out to work around that. But it doesn't help when you have segments like that last night either. Some of this stuff could be salvaged if you have kind of home run segment, because I'm with you, Joseph. The CM Punk MJF stuff is every single line. Am I going crazy over a lot of people? No. Can I leave a lot of the content on the cutting room floor? Yes. But at least everything feels very heated, and it feels like it has it feels like it has some purpose of what they're doing and everything. That Jericho segment just felt like they were out there just wasting time last night.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you completely. The story itself needs to be told. Sorry, go ahead.
He was fishing for a crowd reaction that wasn't happening. He's pinhead, squarehead.
And that's the other thing. It's Jericho's usually good at all right, he'll say some stuff, but it'll at least get a pop and everything. They weren't even trying to play that pinhead blockhead stuff last night.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna frame this positive way. I am very confident that Chris can do something with Eddie Kingston, because it's a guy who's a promo that should bring the best out of him when the time comes, and in the most polite way possible in ring, it's a guy that should allow the older Chris Jericho to thrive. Because Chris isn't going to try and work like, it's a WCW cruiserweight match. They're going to beat each other up. They're probably going to bleed. Like, I think it can really, really work. I think you need to let it happen, right? Like, it's, this kind of extending itself is frustrating. So, but I agree with you. The actual story itself is mostly taking place in our heads right now with the Santana Ortiz. They're just kind of there on TV.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch the TV show, I don't think they've said a word.
No.
You probably need to change that.
The other big thing last night, Jade Cargill did become the TBS champion. Like, how you feel about Jade Cargill winning is, we'll see where it kind of goes. I didn't think the match was very good. It was rough, and it was rough. And Jade Cargill star look has a lot of potential. I'm fine with them building around her and then putting the belt on her and then making her the face, one of the faces of this division. They got to be very careful with how they book this stuff and how they have her sort of learn on television in ring when it comes to this. I thought the Thunder Rosa match was fine. Last night, she's wrestling Ruby. Ruby's obviously very good. They didn't click. Something didn't click, but it was rough. And Jade, she hasn't had a whole lot of extended in-ring time. And again, you got to be very careful with not only how you book this run in ring, just how you book it from who she's going to beat and how long you're going to do this. Because I said it yesterday on the preview, streaks are tough. Streaks are very tough because if your whole identity is a winning streak, after that, when you lose that, like what becomes of you after that? And this is why I think going with Ruby would have been a fine call last night, because then you don't have to worry about that. You can let Jade improve and then make her get better. And then she comes back and she's like, I've learned, I've grown, I've improved. And then she beats whoever for the title. Now she's the champion. I don't know if she can work extended matches. And she's got to beat people as well, because you've established her beating some big names. So she's got to continue to beat people, or you got to find that person immediately who you're like, okay, this person can take the title off of her and make her. And then what becomes of Jade after that? Okay, I love Jade. I think the world of her as far as her star potential and everything, but they got to be very careful with how they're going to book this run. SP3?
Yeah, I do agree with you. Like, when the TBS title tournament was announced, I was like, this is Jade Cargill's tournament. She had made it to the number one spot in the ranking. She was undefeated. I knew they weren't going to go to Britt Baker and Jade yet, so it made sense to give her another goal to go after so she can be away, and we don't have to have the Britt and Jade matchup just yet. So it made sense. And after last week, though, I was just like, maybe we should go with Ruby, because although the match was fine with Thunder Rosa, it was very clear as day where Jade was at in comparison to Thunder Rosa. When she's in there with the best worker in the division, you can clearly see she's waiting. There's a lot of pausing. She doesn't always know what her next move is going to be. And we saw that even more last night with Ruby Soho. It just didn't click. They didn't mesh well. The biggest reaction that the crowd gave the matchup was when Thunder Rosa came out and brawled with Mercedes Martinez to the back, and when Jade put one foot on the top rope and then decided to go back down to the second rope. So it's just, when those are the biggest reactions in the match, something is missing. But I do respect them for their commitment and going with Jade Cargill. She has the look. She looks like a superstar. She looks like, after her wrestling career, she can go to Hollywood and be a star in that way. She has that type of transformative type of look, but she needs reps. So if this title is to get her those reps in the ring, I'm totally fine with it. I could see it in a few months, maybe Tate Conte getting the victory and beating her for the TBS title. That could be someone there. If they want to go longer, like a full year of Jade Cargill, God bless them. Hopefully she gets better in the ring. But if they make it that long, I could see someone like a Red Velvet even beating her, because they have that story there. But I think the more than anything coming out of that, I can see they are doing some type of underdog story with Ruby Soho, because they brought up the loss against Britt. They had her give the interview after the loss in the TBS finals. They are going to give her that big win. It's just not going to come soon.
Yeah. it feels like one of those situations where if you're gonna do it, just do what she can do right now and just have her beat Ruby in 4 minutes. I mean, I know people would hate it, and I would too, but I don't. Unfortunately, I don't think this was the right call. But what I'm getting at is, it's one thing to make the decision, but if you're gonna do it, man, you may as well just do it, because these like 10-minute matches, I say with no hate in my heart, they're just not very good right now, and that's fine. You know, she's so new, you can't blame her for that. But unfortunately, if you keep putting her out there for 10-minute matches, people just they'll make their mind up. And like that's not doing her any justice. And you either got to protect, if you want her to be a star, which we all believe she can be, you got to protect her and have her go shorter matches and find a way for her to work longer matches off at the air. I don't know, man. I thought it was bad, and I didn't want it. Like, you know, I didn't take no pride in saying that. I'm happy about it. I didn't think it worked at all. And but the crowd, you know, I thought the crowd in the second half kind of got with it a little bit, but it just, Jade's just not where she needs to be right now. No. And if you want to put TBS title on, I get that. I just do not think this is the answer. You know, like these long matches where you're asking her to sell, and it's like, man, you may as well just commit and have win squash matches, because these matches they're not getting anyone over in my view. But that's just me. It's a shame.
Yeah, again, we will see what they do with it. There's ways around it. I don't know if you can do these 4-minute matches with people on your roster and then just have her run through everybody. Maybe it's a case of, all right, open door. She just beats some independent people real quickly. And that way you're protecting people on your roster. But learning on the fly on television, not easy. Putting a title on this person and trusting her to carry some of this stuff, that's even tougher. I think she's been put in a bad spot given where she's at in ring. And I hope it doesn't come back to bite her in that aspect, because it's not her fault of this, right? Like, she's not the one asking for this and going to beg for this stuff. It's not her fault.
Your phrase was perfect. She's been put in a bad spot. There's a really there's a problem with, when we all agree that, God forbid, what her mentions look like today, right? And none of us co-sign the kind of bullshit that, you know, is out there, and all of the stuff that comes with it, especially right now with what, you know, dude tweeted. Like, it's hard, man. Like, and I'm not sitting here trying to get like mad about it. I think there's a real chance that she could be like an actual star that crosses over and becomes like a celebrity of sorts.
Yeah.
And I don't think the way to do, if you're going to do that, I don't think the way to do it is having these matches, man. And it's difficult to talk about, because when I'm saying this, I know that unfortunately our criticism for some people comes with this like personal attack and like, you know, this, and they're getting mad about it. And it's like, I think that, you know, you could protect her a lot better than this. She's someone that ultimately, I think the Shaq match was when, March of last year?
Yes.
You know, it's no time. And this is where, God, would house shows be a godsend for these particular cases? I mean, they're a nightmare for so many others because people get injuries and it's terrible. But like, it would be so wonderful to just say to Jade, you know, every weekend you're going to wrestle Thunder Rosa 3 times or Serena. But unfortunately, they don't have that. And I think they need to find their own equivalent. Maybe, maybe you can kind of send her to certain places where there'll be less of a spotlight. I don't know, but these matches, man, they're not getting over in the building to me. I mean, and no, look, that's actually not fair. The crowd got into it at the end. But what I'm saying is, look, let's all be honest with ourselves. When we imagine the first TBS title match, she was hoping it was going to be a slightly more, you know, something slightly more triumphant than this, where at the halfway point, it was like, it weren't like the people were too into it, unfortunately. That's my read on it. I don't know.
I agree. It just didn't click well, but I think you kind of onto something there. Like, they need to find like some type of feeder system or some type of independent promotion where they can just get her more reps. And whether that's them working with Ring of Honor, Ring of Honor wants ROH title to be defended in a bunch of places. And if they are going to come back in April, have her go over there. Like, they're going to do independent shows. They're going to need stars on their shows. Jade Cargill is a big name, and you can put her in there with the Roxy. Even though Roxy is younger, she's been more experienced in the ring. That's going to help her to, work with the Rios of the world, the Shitas of the world. So I think that they have to find some other promotion to help them out. That's the best way to do it, because just having 3-minute matches on Dark, it's not getting her any better at this point.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting. There are some guys, and this is something that fascinates me, like the idea that because of the way their system works, if you're a top guy, it's great because it's going to extend your career. You're not wrestling every week, or you're not wrestling multiple times a week anyway. But there is another issue where some of these people are getting to a point where their TV matches are like, there's so much pressure on them for every TV match, this is this person's first match on TV in 6 months. And it's like, well, I mean, that's not really a great way to position someone to succeed. I was talking to, I think we all here love Powerhouse Hobbs, right? Like, we all think he's money, top guy.
Yeah.
Love. He had a match with him and Starks had a tag with the Dark Order on Dark a couple weeks, but months ago probably now. And the match just fell apart. It happens, right? And I was like, well, that's fine. And I pulled up Hobbs' cage match deal. And, like, Hobbs is a veteran, so it doesn't show as much because he's a pro, obviously. But, he's wrestling, 6 real matches a year, you're going to get out of rhythm, right? It's a unique setup. We're going to see positives. We're going to see negatives. What we're saying right here isn't it's the end of the world. I need to, tear it up and build a developmental territory. But I think SB3's correct. There's probably something to be said for looking at alternatives. Because if I see real pros looking a little bit rusty at times, someone like Jade, she's got no chance, right?
Yeah, I mean they have working relationships with independent companies. Obviously, we've seen guys like Eddie go to Defy. Right. There's GCW is obviously a big one. There's a million Mission Pro, Thunder Rosa's company. There's a million independent companies out there. Not all of them are on television or anything like that. You obviously got to be careful about what fan base you're going to put them in front of. I'm not sending Jade Cargill to a GCW event. You got to be careful about that stuff. But she could certainly go to a Mission Pro and work some matches. She could go to a Defy. I don't think Defy televises anything. Beyond wrestling, I know they're kind of taking a break, but they have the Wrestling Open thing, Limitless. There's companies out there that she can go there and work these work some matches every weekend. And it's just a question, does she want to do that? Do they want to put her in that position? I don't know. But at least that would help her give her some reps in front of some fans and not necessarily in a type of television capacity, especially not a television capacity that's as high pressure as a Rampage or Dynamite.
I think also she needs to get reps in, if it's not going to be an AEW, because obviously they're against it, if it's going to be an independent promotion, give her some matches against guys. Because you can tell a lot of times in her matches, she doesn't want to hurt her opponent. And she feels like she's so much more powerful than the females that she kind of lays off or doesn't lay in her punches. She pulls back on kicks and stuff. Get her in there against a guy, and I think that she will get more comfortable in the ring when she eventually goes back and fights the ladies in AEW.
That's a really good point, because there is the part until then that none of us have mentioned is this isn't just the case of a rookie that's figuring things out. She's such a unique case physically, right? So it must be hard for her. All of these matches, it's kind of the same pattern where she's working with a smaller girl and she's throwing them around, and it's it's interesting for sure. I think this reign will be a real test of them creatively. Because if their plan is just to send Jade out to work 10-minute matches every week, I think that is a complete disservice to Jade. So we shall see. But then again, if it squashes, it's hard. I don't know what the answer is, if I'm being honest with you. They've kind of put themselves in a corner all along with this, and now we're in, it's come to fruition. So we shall see.
Catch up on some super chats and then unfortunately. Everyone knows what time it is.
Yes.
Eric Brady says, do you think the case can be made that Bryan Danielson is better in ring than Braun Breaker? It's tough, man. Braun Breaker's really good.
Listen,
Really
that
good.
that match did rule though. In all
It
fairness,
did. Yeah.
It did.
he's a hell of a talent, Braun Breaker, right? Incredible.
Yeah.
He's great. Jay Shell says Lee Moriarty, he fought Punk and now he has no steam. A lot of guys like that. You just kind of do that one-off thing, and
Yeah.
that's
I wish they'd have followed up on the Seidel thing with Moriarty.
Me too.
Remember he was like taking him
Yeah.
under his wing. I don't think they've done
Mhm.
anything with that since.
They had that one really good matchup with Leo
Yes,
Rush and Dante Martin, and they never went back to it.
Now, I don't think they're doing it on the C shows. I don't think they've teamed up on them. So I don't know what to do with that. That feels like a team that could be on TV, man. That's a hell of a team.
Yeah.
Jay Blood said Malachi stuff needs to be deep, involved, high end. AEW looks a little bit low rent in context of his ambitions.
Probably fair. Yeah,
That stuff just it doesn't hit with me. I don't know if it's deep.
I agree, but like there is truth to that though.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. JJ says the one thing I'm picking up on watching Nitro, some of these matches has no story. It's a wrestling show with matches. Current AEW is 97, 98 Nitro or WCW. That's what Tony wanted, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best years, he said.
He loves that shit. But what did AEW do? I thought the numbers are out, maybe not. And Phantom, jokes about his dye job was off limits. I don't know if I'm assuming that was Jericho. I don't know if probably should have gone there. Honestly, it was something. Cody says, can't wait to watch live. Just want to show my support. Thursday Night Wars begins tonight. Impact versus MLW Azteca shooting cross you call the authorities.
My God.
You watching MLW Azteca, Joseph?
Yes.
Don't lie. Hugh Janus says they have Dark Elevation. Only problem is you can't have Jade, Thunder Rosa, Deeb every week as they broadcast it, so can't have one of them losing. Yeah, and on those shows, like you're probably gonna do squashes. You're probably not gonna do like kind of 10-minute matches.
This is the thing, right?
But
So
maybe you should.
Yeah, the answer to that is do some angles. But I think the reason they're hesitant to do more, they do some. I've watched the shows, like they definitely do some. But part of why they don't do as many longer matches on Elevation, especially, is they've got so many guys that need to get out there and wrestle for the night, So it's like, Dark Elevation is like 40 minutes long, and there will be, 7 squash matches in that time. Like they ain't looking to have long matches. They're just trying to get guys out there to wrestle. So it's hard.
Jay Blitz, let's just say, with all our concerns about Jade, she has handled herself in the face of a lot of hate in a really impressive way. Yes, look, this has nothing to do with her personality and her off screen or anything like that. It is a lot of just they put her in a bad position, and she's done everything that's asked of her. I think they've been asking a little bit too much of her from an in-ring perspective.
Yes. It's a shame that unfortunately we're like this space is just dominated by people being complete arseholes, right? Yeah. Go ahead, SB3. I'm sorry.
It's a very toxic space. That's why I'm glad to be here with you guys. But I have the AEW number. They did over 1 million. 1,010,000 was the count. 0.43 in the 18 to 49 demo.
For those of you watching at home, Tony Khan has just basically told us to go fuck ourselves live here on the air. He has won. We have lost. I hope you've enjoyed the last ever episode of The Distraction. We have been proven wrong here. We've fell on our sword, much like the great Lord Stephen Regal over there in Orlando.
He was like, Tony gonna put out the tweet like, "Ha! You told me to say sorry. I did, and we did over 1 million." Ha!
Oh boy!
Ha!
I wasn't even going that way with it. Oh hell!
On that note, time for Robert O'Neill's Corner 3. Hello, Robert O'Neill.
What's up, guys?
You got to follow that. Good luck.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Well, thoughts on Tony Khan just dunking on us live on the air here with his successful rating for Dynamite.
Oh, man.
Bob, are you there?
Yeah, I don't know what.
Sorry, you cut out.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You ready to do the Corner 3?
I am, yeah.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Here we go. Here we go.
History final.
Okay.
Go ahead, O'Neill.
Yeah. So, we're about the halfway point of the NBA season, so I figured I'd check in how things are going around the league here. I'm going to start with the Lakers. Been watching them a little bit recently. LeBron still very good, still doing it at 37 or whatever he is. The rest of that team, though, man, they suck. Like, Westbrook doesn't have it anymore. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to do this to you. Anthony Davis, I think, is still fine once he gets better. But you know what it is, too? If they would have gotten DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso instead of Westbrook, they'd be top 4 team right now. And that's really the thing. That's the thing that we got to focus on here. And I didn't want to start with the Lakers. I know you're a Lakers fan. I didn't want to attack you like that, but that was really what stuck out to me. But, just kind of going more around the league. You look at the Eastern Conference in general. The Heat are still pretty good. The Bucks are on the upswing. The Nets have gotten it together because Kyrie's back. But you look at the top of the Eastern Conference, it's the Chicago Bulls. And for a team that hasn't had their full team in, what are we talking, probably about a month? They're on an 8-game win streak. DeMar DeRozan's look great. It's really exciting. It's an exciting time. Before the year, I just wanted them to avoid the play-in game, maybe get the top 4. And now, 2 games up on the 1 seed going into the second half of the year. You'd love to see that, man. Just brilliant stuff by them. And, again, I'll go back to the Lakers for a second here. Like, I think LeBron can get them together. I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs or whatever, but just no depth, man. They went and just kind of got all of LeBron's friends from various all-star teams in the past instead of just building a proper team, and it's not really working for them. I don't know. I mean, there's trades they can make. They got plenty of time still, but definitely some signs of danger out there in LA. And then, we talked about the Bulls a little bit. We talked about the rest of the Eastern Conference. The Warriors look like they could win the title again. And I mean, I know we knew when Klay Thompson came back, and he's not even back yet, but I know, we knew they'd be good. Steph is at an MVP level still. Just a really good team. And I mean, it's been fun. It's been fun to watch the NBA this year. It's been fun to get back into it. I've gotten more into it because my team is actually good. But that's just the thing that sticks out every time I watch the Lakers because, DeMar wanted to go there. Caruso wanted to stay there. You get those guys instead of Westbrook, top 4 team, man. Top 4 in the West. They're, 6 right now? They'd easily be in the top 4. I don't know if Jeremy.
Why do you keep bringing up the Lakers? Why?
That's really the sticking point. Those are my 2 points: the Lakers and the Bulls. And I didn't mean to come on here and attack you. I know you're a Lakers fan. But yeah, those are my 2 big points at the halfway mark. The Lakers have been disappointing. The Bulls have really been better than everyone thought, except for me. And all hail.
His 3-pointer, bang!
That has been Robert O'Neill's corner 3. Joseph, you're muted.
What a piece of shit he turned out to be.
I was dying.
Like he kept going back. He kept going back to the lake. I thought it was over.
Do you know what that was? That was like, the meme of from Joker. When Joaquin Phoenix he tells the joke and he looks at other people. That was Bob at about 8 different points during that, where he just dunked on the Lakers, went silent, and was like, "And what?"
He clearly didn't know how much time was left, so he just stopped. So the Lakers, they didn't get to part.
He was gesturing.
He was giving the viewers time to laugh. Like literally.
Hang on. Are we saying we need to add a laughing track to this program?
Yeah.
Do we have to, for Bob's sake, to fill the 3 minutes, do we have to let him pause?
Yes. So he has a button he can just press and he gets the laughing. He's lucky. I let him do all that because I was going to say, I'm not going to even insult him back. He's a Bulls fan.
It's tough with the way they've been playing. It's tough to actually disprove any of that.
He's a Bulls fan, and Bulls fans have had it rough over the last couple of years. Last time he saw a championship, Bob was starring with Ben Stiller in Heavyweights. So I understand that he's a little bit salty. He's a little bit salty at me and the Los Angeles Lakers.
No, you just killed that man, bro. Holy shit! Holy shit! That was incredible. Heavyweights, man. That's a classic. We just saw a murder take place. Tony can't stuff me into a locker there with that rating. Bob thought he was home and dry, didn't he, Jeremy? He thought he'd won. He was sitting back there smug. Jesus, man.
Carlos
Wow.
says Joseph COVID. Be careful, guys. As distraction COVID protocol followed the way Bob's politics seems bad.
You should have left me off the house shows, brother, you know? That was incredible. I can't believe what just happened.
Oh, man.
Bob, do you have any thoughts on the fact that you appeared to... You have just stole defeat from the jaws of victory, it appears, based on what I just watched play out here.
Yeah, no, I've been owned. I have to admit that. And just move on.
Oh my God, we got some bobber chats to read from Jay Shell. Says, hi Joe and SP3. I don't like Jeremy right now. What'd I do? He said he was going to kick me after I thought we were friends. Hope SP3 ran series 2. Yeah, you guys are talking how young you are. Just look at you youngins. Jay Shell also says, I'm getting new age ass boys jokes made at me. I blame Jeremy. That's not my fault. And not Bryan Danielson. Oh, this is like not John Alba. Am I the only one deflated that Danielson didn't go over? I just like to pretend that Bryan Danielson actually did send that as not Bryan Danielson, and he's pissed that he didn't win.
I mean, I get it. He is awesome, but it's Hangman, right? Like,
yeah.
You know,
they could have done a lot of things. Like, I wouldn't have been mad if Danielson won, but I'm all for Hangman keeping the title. There's a lot of meat there. So
yeah, I agree.
Oh man, do we have anything else to talk? I feel like we can't. After
that's it.
that,
It's done.
Do we talk about the release stuff? People got released.
It's bad. A quick thing. One thing I will say, and this is another message to the wrestling world here. If we all talk about this thing, we talk about the imaginary like third promotion that's going to come along to make wrestling even more fun. Yeah. If there is a money man on the earth right now who has any interest in entering professional wrestling, we're about to find out because Regal is the guy.
Yeah.
If you honestly had the money you wanted to do to be the quarterback of a wrestling project, Regal is the man for the job. So you'll find out here shortly if that exists. I'm pretty sure it doesn't, but it's hard, right? Because for us, it's just a bummer that people are losing their jobs. Like I think we all are like aware of what's going on, and they're trying to make a point about the new regime. And unfortunately, this is just what happens with that stuff when you get cold, callous corporations trying to send a message. They haven't been subtle with it, so I think we're all aware by now of what's going on. I thought Regal was going to dodge the bullet because he's fucking Regal. Everyone loves that guy. He does every job. He's got, I'm pretty sure, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. We all agree on this. He has a job waiting for him in AEW if he wants it. A pretty lucrative one.
Yeah.
I think for wrestling's sake, it would be really fun if we see him centering another promotion. I don't know what promotion, I don't know. But that dude has got like some serious kind of pull in the industry. People love him. So I don't know, it'll be interesting. He's the big headline of it all, right? I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, easily. SP3.
I was just honestly shocked. Like, I remembered the tweet immediately when I heard the news. Remember when Triple H said that as long as William Regal would always have a job as long as he wanted one. So is this telling to tell us that he doesn't want to be there anymore? But no, we know the fact of the matter is that they are just wiping the slate clean, and it's just very disheartening because it makes it feel like all the work in giving WWE a lot of the stars that they have on the main roster, it comes down to William Regal either helping those guys when they got to WWE or being the person that got their foot in the door for WWE. So to make it feel like all of that didn't matter, all that hard work that he put in, to just let him go in the way that they did, it's very disappointing. It's like, I know you guys always say Fed is dead, but like they have a dead soul. That's what that really means. Like they will never be dead as far as business, but as far as their soul
it's
and
changed,
how they show appreciation to their employees, to the people that work the hardest for them, it's very different from how I grew up watching this.
It's weird, right? Like, I think we can all agree that WWE was always very, very questionable in terms of morality, right? But there was this, and this does not make it right, but there was this sense that like those kind of, in the family would always be, and like Regal is the ultimate example. Like, I never thought I'd see Regal not work for that company, but because the wrestlers, we've never seen them cut wrestlers at the rate they have the last year, but generally, if you look through history, the wrestlers come and go. But there are these guys that kind of stick around forever but the truth is, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb here, he was intended to be Triple H's right-hand man for when he was, the Pat Patterson or the Bruce or whoever. And I guess that's just not happening anymore. So it's a huge story. And we've covered it enough, no doubt. And, this isn't the time to get into it too deep here. But, folks, do yourself a favor. Go back a year. Look at that New Year's Evil card from last year NXT. Look at it is a huge story. And in real time, you react to it accordingly. And you may not quite grasp the scope of it. Imagine me telling you a year ago this is where we'd be now. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And, of course, ironically, this week's NXT show was great. So it's all, rainbows over there. They probably think they've done a great job. But this next few years, there are going to be some really interesting conversations to be had about what this new approach is, how it works, and how long it lasts. And we will, we'll see how history treats this one. We'll see.
One thing that isn't being talked about enough is how NXT went from one of the greatest women's divisions of all time to where they are now, where the New Year's Evil show, I do agree, was a very good wrestling show.
That match.
One of the weakest things on the show was the women's match. And it literally Takeover Vengeance Day. Go back and watch that show. When Toni Storm goes from NXT UK to NXT, when Ember Moon comes back from injury, you got Io Shirai as champion. You still had Mercedes Martinez. You had Raquel Gonzalez on the rise. You had Taya Valkyrie just signing with the company. All of that is gone. Io Shirai is an afterthought in the division. She was in a tag team where they were having sushi and having one of the worst segments in NXT history. And this whole division is just, it's not what it used to be. And I think that's one thing that isn't being focused on enough is that they built up one of the best women's divisions ever and then tore it apart for this rebrand.
Yeah, and this is hard. So I was reading a thing the other day. I don't know who it was. I'm sorry. But they were talking about who's going to win the Rumble, right? And on the women's side, these were the names listed. So you had Bianca Belair, who we all agree, obviously the Becky stuff sucked, but the first year or so, they did a great job with that, right? She won the Rumble. She won Mania. I can accept that as a win. She's one of the top women. She's great. Awesome. The next names were Banks, Bayley, Bliss, Asuka were in this thing. And I'm like, look, I love all of these people. At some point, you gotta, that was the Royal Rumble predictions 3-4 years ago. That doesn't mean you don't push Sasha, but of course you push her. She's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world. But you have to have other names fit alongside them. And that's where you'd like to see a Toni Storm or a Rhea Ripley or a Shotzi or any of these people, right? And Liv, but they're not there. And some of them could be there, but they need the help creatively, the same help that the other women got 5-6 years ago. So it's going to be the big concern, I think, is you're absolutely correct. You nailed it. The NXT Women's Division is objectively worse. The big question is how long until that truly damages the main roster? Because the main roster still has that core, right? Those names I named, they're still there. If they don't start adding soon, man, that's going to get slim before you know it. So that's something to watch for sure. Very good point.
Jay Shell says, I think Walter is officially in the U.S. He's just having his last match in NXT UK. He made the announcement just now. Yeah, I think
Coward.
that was a
coward, betrayed Great Britain.
SB3, thank you for joining us today. Always appreciate it, buddy. Let the people know where they can find you at.
You can find me on the Twitter machine at TrueHeelSP3. You can see my written work on sportskita.com and WrestleTalk.com. Check out my new podcast with Rick Ucchino, Believe in Pro Wrestling. You can listen to that wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, as well as you can see me on Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel and my own YouTube channel, True Heel Heat. True Heel Heat this Saturday, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. We are going to have special guest Rich Fan from PW Torch, so check that out. And then tomorrow on True Heel Heat YouTube channel, my exclusive interview with Shane Taylor, his last official interview while he was under contract with Ring of Honor, where he talks about his feelings coming out of Final Battle and how he really felt about Ring of Honor cutting away from his ending with Kenny King to the CM Punk promo. So check that out tomorrow.
There we go.
That'll be good. He's always a really great interview. Really
Indeed.
great.
Yeah. Matt King says, family doesn't matter. If you have shareholders satisfied, WWE going public was the beginning of them. Capitalism plus art always at odds.
That's it. The reason I said that was because, like, it is important that and I know we are in the chat probably is too, like, we're all aware that, like, that place was always probably not, like, they never really cared, but there was always certain people that felt bulletproof, you know? I don't feel like that way anymore, right? It feels like anyone could fall. Should I do plugs now, Jeremy?
Yes, you can do plugs.
Should I let the show end now rather than adding another topic on top before we leave every time?
Do we have another topic?
No, hell no.
Okay.
I have some stuff. So a couple of things here. The Fleet 50, after I spent an hour talking about why AEW is dead, you can send your your ballot of the top 50 in-ring performers of AEW's 2021. We've got I haven't done them all yet, but we're on like 18. Let me tell you, folks, there's a lot of opinions out there. You know, we've got there's some wonderful people with wonderful ideas about professional wrestling. You can send your ballot, Joe Hulbert05@gmail.com. Just send me the list. I'll put it in there and I'll announce the winner in a couple of weeks. You got like the 22nd, I think, is the deadline. So you can get involved in that. LateNightGrim.com for the Patreon, in which we do the Late Night Grim program. Also, quick thing, personal thing here. I want to review Dynamite. You run wrestling site? Tell me. I will do it for a.
That's what we do on this show.
I know, but I'm working on something. Or a minimal price of $500,000 a week. I will review AEW Dynamite immediately after the show goes off the air. That's the thing I want to explore in all seriousness. So if you're involved, hit me up, all that good stuff. Phantom, they do not have to be fully signed. If they wrestle one match in AEW, they're eligible. The key is you only judge them on their work in AEW though. So, if you did Rocky Romero, you wouldn't include while thinking about his stuff in New Japan or whatever. So there you go.
The bare minimum, just one match in AEW. I got to thank you guys for having me on the show. I always have a great time, even though you sent Bob for me. It's fine. It's fine.
I didn't look, Bob. We don't script O'Neal, okay? We're not backstage. We don't hand him a script or anything. He didn't even tell us what he's gonna do. Half the time, he doesn't even know what he's gonna do. So he just shows up, and we just kind of give him free reign. We don't have control over that, man. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate y'all guys. You guys are two of my favorites in all of wrestling media that I generally call friends. And yes, but I have to call out Jeremy when we doing our challenge podcast.
Man, I have no free time now on like weekend. I still have not watched last week's episode. I've not watched last week's episode. I've not seen the pasta rant. I haven't seen it. Oh
my god!
I'm so far behind.
What's the challenge equivalent of Fed Dead or Fleet Beat? Have we got one for the challenge? It's too long, right?
Yeah, it's tough to like really play.
Chibi.
I'll hopefully catch up this weekend at some point. I've gotten no sleep this week, SP3. Give me a break, man.
Me either. I did a watch along for Wrestle Kingdom. I had to be on camera watching that at 3:00 in the morning. So trust me, I know.
Jeremy, before you click end stream, can you put Dion's comment on the screen? Not if don't even read it, just put it on there and let us go off the air with that on the screen. Thanks, pal. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. I have plugs, Joe. So sometimes I do things every now and again. No post show today. No post show. We'll be on Twitch tomorrow. Joe Pearl and I, 5:00. Shout out to Shabugan who is paying for my EA Play subscription. If you guys just want to like send me money, you can PayPal me. I'll take money. I'll put it to good use. So Joe Pearl and I are gonna do some stuff there. There will be an Impact Hard to Kill and AEW Battle of the Belts watch along this weekend on Twitch. I think that's everything. We'll be back on the Distraction channel on Monday. What are we reviewing on Monday? Are we reviewing Impact?
Impact
and be
and
around
Battle
for
of the
that?
Belts.
You wanna do
Yes,
that?
Impact and Battle of the Belts, Jeremy.
Yeah, that sucks.
Remember Battle of the Belts? They were going to have quarterly specials. And we were like, Clash of Champions, baby.
Just like here's a Cody match you've seen before and a Britt match you've seen before. Have
Fleet
fun.
hour.
beat, folks.
1
Fleet
hour.
beats.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys. We appreciate it. Thank you again, SB3, for doing this. Always appreciate you, buddy. I say it all the time. I'm very blessed to have good friends who I can just message on a whim, be like, hey, can you do this? And the answer is typically yes. And you're someone who I know I can always do that. Thank you, SB3. Thank you, Joseph, for showing up under the COVID, which is basically just the flu, according to LeBron James. We'll talk to everybody later on.